All right, we are back. Pardon everybody while I clear the red tape that happens to be too many stinking applications up on my machine, or at least not in general, but for this moment. Let's see. So we wanted to talk about. So last episode we did off the rails, and I think we're just going to dive right into this because we're going to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, and we'll see where this one goes because there's a lot of ways we can go, and I don't even know what's going to happen next, which is totally how every episode has gone almost since episode one. So why should I change it up now? All right, the countdown with a little three, a two. Hello and welcome back. We are back on the rails if you listened to the last episode, or maybe not. In any case, this is the Developer Nerd Podcast. This is Building Better Developers. This season, we are building better businesses. This episode, spoiler alert, we're going to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome. What are we going to say? Even we don't know. But I do know that I am Rob Broadhead, one of the founders of Developer Nerd and also the Building Better Developers podcast, the site, the YouTube channel, all of those things. Also, a founder of RB Consulting, where we help you wrangle technology, basically. It is one of the biggest things that you're going to deal with as a business owner. It is one of your biggest investments outside of your people. And it is, for a lot of people, sort of nightmarish because it changes all the time. The people that are experts, some of them are, some of them are not, is sort of a scary place, almost like doing your taxes on a regular basis. Technology can be tough, but we sit down with you and help you craft a custom recipe for success for your business. We really sit down and work with you on your business before we even think about technology. And then we talk about the technology you have and the technology that you need to use to make your business better, not the technology that we think is the coolest or the most expensive thing. And we do this through integration, simplification, automation, innovation. We may build something for you, or we may help you find the perfect tool that's sitting on a shelf somewhere that you can pull off and then leverage that to make your business better, both today and into the future, because along the way of learning your business, we help you develop a technology roadmap. We do an initial assessment, figure out where you're at, and then use that to build your path to a brighter future. Good thing, bad thing. So this time around, I guess I'll start with the bad thing, is that we're in a season where we have just recently sold a house and we got an apartment, and now we're taking some of this and we're going to find a townhouse. So we spent a good deal of the last couple of weekends going through and doing the house hunting thing and stuff like that. This last weekend in particular, we had a very circuitous route. We were sprawled out over the greater Nashville area looking for some stuff. And it turned out that the last place that we went, which was we had a cluster of stuff and we had about a 45-minute drive, went to the last place, and it was not good at all. It was the worst of the list, practically. Actually, it was second from the bottom. And the one that was on bottom, my daughter that was going with us just referred to it when we were taking notes as scary house. So that tells you not a really good place, not something that you want to put on the top of your list unless you're doing Halloween hunting. So that was a bad news. Spent a lot of time, probably had an extra little jaunt there that we could have done without. The good news related to that is that we did find a place. So the second to last place we went, we found an awesome one. Lots of fun stories with it. Short of it is, now we don't have to go out house hunting in the near future. Nor do I have to go out and do a podcast partner hunt because mine is right on the other side of the screen for me. And Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, everyone. My name is Michael Meloche. I'm one of the co-founders of Developer Nerd, Building Better Developers. I'm also the founder of a company called Envision QA, where we offer tailored software and quality assurances solutions to optimize the performance and reliability of your e-commerce platform or your current inter-office software. Picture a flawless user experience, increased sales, and a competitive edge in the market. We do all this through creating and crafting precision and tailored software that meets your business needs. No two applications are the same. They're all tailored to your unique needs for your business. We do this through more than just websites, desktop applications, and mobile apps. We do this by actually walking through your processes, doing assessments like Rob mentioned, understanding your business in and out, and then we build something that seamlessly identifies your products, your processes or if it facilitates and streamlines your transactions within your business. Good thing and bad thing. Good thing, I had a chance to go catch Thunderbolts. I'm a big Marvel fan, and I was not disappointed. It was actually a very good movie. Bad thing, I now can't wait for Fantastic Four. So it kind of not a super bad thing, but just I just ready for the next one. You're on mute.
I also have learned how to mute myself occasionally when I accidentally do so. Recently saw Thunderbolts, great movie. Highly enjoyed it. If you like the sillier ones, I guess, like the Guardians of the Galaxy, very much worth it. And no, Michael did not give you any spoilers whatsoever in his earlier comments. So we'll move along very quickly, like shuffle on, nothing to see here. These are not the droids that you're looking for. What you are looking for is imposter syndrome right now. That is what we're going to talk about this time. And we will start with, as sometimes we have to do, essentially a definition. And now I am not going to go out to the book of knowledge known as Wikipedia or a dictionary or something like that. So my definition may not be completely what you hear from somebody else, including those that have written books on it, things like that. In general, imposter syndrome is you're somewhere, you have achieved, some success of some sort, and essentially it comes down to you don't feel like you should be there. You don't feel like you worked hard enough, or you're smart enough, or somehow that you have earned it. And that can be quite a challenge. And it's actually very common, particularly these days, when you have these you have like people with the internet and some of these other things, that they can be an overnight success, that they suddenly are, you hear their name everywhere, and they've gone from, especially, it's part of the challenge, if you've gone from like just slogging your way through life, and then suddenly you get a big customer, you get a big break or something like that, and now you haven't really changed what you were doing, but it did actually pay off, and now you are, rich and famous, or whatever it happens to be. The sad thing is you don't have to be rich nor famous to have imposter syndrome. It basically does come down to you just don't feel that you don't feel that you've earned where you're at. You don't feel that you are worthy of the accolades or the success or something like that. The challenge with the thing that from a business point of view is I want to focus on a little bit as an entrepreneur. What imposter syndrome can do is it sucks. It can drag us out of the rhythm or even the things that we did that got us here. Because it's essentially, imposter syndrome is going to come when we're doing some sort of a sanity check or a self-check of some sort, to be like, hey, how are things going? Why am I here? What did I do? And it's usually very, essentially introspective, because you're looking at it saying, I didn't really do anything different last week than I did the week before, but now suddenly my business is far more successful. I'm selling more products or something like that. And I think the first thing you want to do in this is think about the fact that, like, there are watershed moments essentially in businesses and a lot of processes. A good way to think about it would be if you're filling a cup. There's a certain point where you're filling a cup and it's like it's filling. And then at some point it overflows. And now the water is going everywhere. It's not just contained in the glass. That's sort of what happens fairly regularly in business, is that you're just doing the things you need to do, and then you catch a break, or the momentum builds enough that now you're actually able to, the things that were slowing you down before maybe no longer slow you down, because there's too much momentum, there's too much size. There's things like that, there's obstacles, there is friction that essentially you are able to overcome. And then suddenly now that friction that was holding you back and slowing you down no longer is, and you're off and running. And that, I think, is sort of what happens. That is a good trigger for the imposter syndrome in itself, is that you're sitting there going, I shouldn't be here. I should be somewhere back here, because I was pacing myself based on whatever I did, the pace I was getting a year ago. And now my pace is suddenly improved and I haven't really changed anything, but it's because now you don't have the friction. So I think sometimes, if you can think about it right, because it's everything that's in our head is always, that's the problem. It's in our head. So we have to figure out how to unpack it. One of the things you may be able to use if you get into the imposter syndrome situation is that consider that maybe the fact that you're questioning this shows that there was a payoff for some of the work that you did, that it wasn't just dumb luck, that it wasn't anything like that, that it was actually you were there, that you worked, that you showed up every day, and that now you have a victory or a bigger victory for it. I'll pause there and let you sort of throw in your 2 cents and maybe even take us in a completely different direction, but let's see where that goes.
Yeah. So, you mentioned that imposter syndrome's kind of where we reach that achievement point, or we reach a position where we don't think we should have achieved it. We don't think we deserve it. And in business, this can happen on a whim. I mean, it could be you're growing your business, you land a big customer that you could do. And at the start of it, you think, great, I can do this. I've got everything I need to do it. I got the bandwidth, I got the employees. And you get into the project, and kind of like we talked about last episode, maybe your project's going off the rails, or you're getting a little overwhelmed, or you're starting to question, was this a good idea? Because you could just start having self-doubt, which leads you to think that, oh, I can't do this. Why did I do this? I don't deserve this. What the hell was I thinking? And in some cases, some people throw in the towel. They think, oh, I shouldn't be in this business. I'm not good enough for this. And that's a lot of times imposter syndrome just comes from a lot of self-doubt, a lot of questioning, should I really be doing what I'm doing? Do I deserve this? Do I have the capacity to do this? And in business, a lot of times I've seen it happen where you get on a new project, or you finish a project and now you're like, now where do I go? You might be struggling to find that next product or that next customer, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, I can't do this. I don't have the skills to do it, but yet you do. And it's just a lot of times, I guess, to me, imposter syndrome stems from a couple of things. One, overworked, or you're on a very challenging project that is taking a lot of time that typically in a smaller project wouldn't take that much time. Two, you are having a hard time figuring out what to do with your business. What direction is your business going in? Am I growing the business the right way? Are you having problems finding customers? That can lead to, well, am I in the right business? Do I even know how to run a business? Things of that nature can lead to that imposter syndrome. And then the third one is feedback. You could get negative feedback about something from your customers, from social media, and that could tear you down. And you really start thinking, what the hell am I thinking? I'm not right for this job. You basically are letting the negative thoughts or the negative feedback push you down, basically make you feel that you can't do the job that you're doing. And to me, that's one of the biggest things that makes me feel like I have imposter syndrome sometimes. Working for over a decade and a half in healthcare, I got into a healthcare position, knew what I was doing great, got moved up to a higher position, and then immediately felt like I didn't deserve it. Like this was not for me. And ultimately, I left that position and went to another company because it made me sick to be there. It made me feel like I did not deserve this. And looking back on it, it wasn't me. It was the environment of the company, the project, and just the way business was done was so negative that it is very hard to succeed or even feel feel good about yourself if you're in an environment that is that toxic or that negative. So sometimes it's your environment. Look at your environment. If you are finding that you are surrounded by negative people, or people basically saying that you can't do what your business needs to do, you may need to pivot. It could even mean firing a customer.
That's sometimes firing a customer, firing an employee, maybe if they're a poison pill. Sometimes that is the best solution. Sometimes firing yourself, much like Michael said, is like sometimes you need to move out of that situation. will help you if it's, now this is, if it's something where it's a very negative situation, where it's a draining situation. But and sometimes that can, like, there's so many triggers, there's so many things that can trigger this whole, imposter syndrome. And it does take different forms. If you read about it and hear people talk about it, sometimes it is very much a, um, I guess it's like a negative that you're hearing the negatives and it's like, I'm not worthy of this. But then there's also times that it's almost more of a positive of like, I've been working very hard and there's nothing really wrong with what I did, but it's just not as good as what the reward is. And so it'd be like, you expect to get your paycheck and you're like, oh, I've gotten my paycheck every week or whatever it is. And then suddenly you get a paycheck that's got an extra $1,000 in it. You're like, what did I do different? And it could be because now things cost $1,000 more. That's a problem. But it could be that things have moved on. It's like, seniority in general. Like you go for a year and now you get a raise. Hopefully, if you've been there, you get a review, you have a good review, you get a raise. Cool. In business, it's not always that. It's not going to work like that. It's not like clockwork. So it's not like you've been doing your business for a year and your customers are like, hey, you get a raise. We're going to bring more customers in, or we're going to buy more products. No, it's much more. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days, and maybe there's a nice trend in the right direction. But overall, you don't have like a solid, like that drumbeat of like, I work X amount of time, I get this pay, I get a raise, blah, blah, blah. Then you move up. It can surprise us. It can shock us. And so this is where like the going into the negative side of it a little bit is it's like sometimes we don't actually, I think a lot of times we don't understand where our limitations are. I think we limit ourselves far more than we actually are. And that's why you see these stories of these people who've done all these incredible things and this great stuff they do. And usually it's because they were unshackled at some point, whether they did it themselves, whether circumstances forced them into it or whatever it was, that they were just like, I did it because I had to do it. I didn't think about there being another option. And that's sort of what gets us sometimes into that situation, is that we can look at it. And I know from discussions I've had where people will be like, I can't believe you did X. And I look back at it and I can say, can't believe I did anything else because I didn't have another option. If you told me there was a way out, I would have taken that other way. There's things like that. And so I think it comes down to, and this is the little secret sauce in all of this, it comes down to that nastiest thing that's out there, which is comparison to others, because their story is not your story. Everybody's got a different story. They're built differently. The things that kill you would make somebody else stronger and vice versa. It's just, the more we talk, we got this through the interviews. It was amazing how many people we talked through in the interviews. They went through all kinds of just really difficult situations and they came out shining on the other end because they didn't have any other option but to do so. And it's stuff that you can't put yourself there because you haven't done it. You don't understand what it's like until you actually do it. So comparing yourself to what they did and saying that you measure up or you don't measure up is actually just a pile of horse crap, essentially, because everybody's unique. It goes back to, sadly, or maybe in a cool way, just why we talk to every one of our customers in my company, is that everybody's different. Everybody's unique. And you need to, you're going to leverage it different than everybody else. Yes, there's commonalities and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, comparing yourself to somebody else is sort of a fool's errand. And so that hopefully would be a way for you to get out of the whole imposter syndrome, because instead of saying, I'm not this person, is realize that you are that person. You are you. You got there. However you got there, you got there. It may seem harder or easier than somebody else, but you got there. You have skills and you can still move forward with those. Now, the challenge for this week is, it's actually more of an introspective kind of thing. Have you suffered from imposter syndrome, or are you doing it now? Is it something that's challenged you? Is there some little voice in your head that's saying you're not worthy, or that you don't belong here, or something like that? And instead of just tossing it out and saying, okay, that's worthless, I do belong here, I'm awesome, is see if there are grains of truth in there. And that's usually where the power is going to come from, is saying, okay, what is it that's making me feel like I'm not where I should be? Now, this could go to a lot of different areas and could actually be very much a growth thing for you, because what you're going to end up doing is looking into, maybe it's like, what are the things that drain me? What are the things that excite me? What are the things that energize me? What are the things that I do well? What are my weaknesses? There's a lot of areas that you could end up covering when you're trying to figure out, what am I doing here? Do I belong here? And then with all that, how do I take the next step forward? And that's where the actual challenge of this is first assess where you're at, how you feeling, how you doing, and then taking that, how do I take a step forward? Whether it is to affirm that I do belong here, or whether it is that, hey, I belong here, but now I'm not done. I have not plateaued, or I haven't peaked. Maybe I've plateaued. So how do I start taking that next step forward? If you can do that, then that is going to very much obviously help you out, because that's going to continue on a growth path of some way, form, or fashion. I would love to hear responses on this one. I honestly, there's so many of the topics we've covered in the last year or so more. Love to get your feedback. info@developreneur.com. I would love to, we'd be happy to even sit down and talk with you about it if you're open to that. Have a nice little interview and go through like some of the things to make you feel like, yes, you do belong. Also, you can reach us on X, at Twitter, or I'm sorry, at Developreneur, or at Twitter. I'm not sure if that's going to give you take a while to get there, at Developreneur, but you can also catch us on YouTube. There's Developreneur channel. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. If you find a place and we're not, let us know. We'll get there. And we also love to get feedback and, pluses, minuses, voting up, down, whatever it is that you do for that. Feedback of any sort, good or bad, is helpful to us because it helps us be better and build a better podcast. You go out there today and build a better you, because you deserve to be there. Have a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time. Bonus material.
So one thing I'll throw out is, if you find yourself having that self-doubt, having yourself in that imposter syndrome mode, take a step back and look at your achievements. Look at the things that you have done to get where you are. And if that doesn't reset, hopefully you have a significant other or a good friend that can help you kind of get out of that funk, get out of that mindset that, hey, you can do what you put your mind to. You can do it. It could be like a previous episode. You could be off the rails. You could just be doing too much and you're overwhelmed, and therefore you're stuck in this imposter syndrome. And maybe it's time to just reset and refocus.
I think that's probably, I'm going to go with that one, is like sort of along those lines. Have somebody that can, hopefully you do, hopefully everybody's got somebody that you can talk to that is your inner circle, that can help you. And if not, you can always go to there's counseling and all kinds of stuff like that. It's just basically to like not compare to other people, but instead to say, okay, let me like realistically assess, like, what did I do? How did I get there? I mean, it was an old, there was a little comedic bit from years ago where it's, somebody was like, I don't know, I just worked hard for 20 years. And the next thing I do, I woke up and I had a lot of money. It's like, stuff like that. It's like the world loves to beat us down a little bit on this stuff, sometimes a lot, because there's haters out there and stuff like that. And you see it all the time. You can see people that get to the top of their game and everybody hates them now, especially if they were the underdog, and now the underdog is, super dog, and everybody hates them. They loved them when they're underdog. Now they don't anymore. Those of you that are music lovers and you're like, I can't believe my band sold out, man. Yes, you are exactly one of those kind of people. That I think is the thing to do, is like have somebody to get some sort of like realistic barometer to help you out. If you're worried that you didn't do enough, you didn't deserve it or something like that, take a look at it, because sometimes it's actually going to be very cathartic. It's going to help you embrace more like, wow, I did come through a very difficult time. And that will allow you then the next time around to say, hey, I overcame that tough, hard, difficult thing in the past. And now, yeah, this may be a new tough, hard, or difficult, but I've done it before and I can do it again. And that is going to be a recipe for success and continued success, because you're always going to be able to say, hey, done it before, I can do it again. Like I have done before and will do again right now, is ask you for feedback, but also I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for hanging out with us, for checking in with us every episode, for all these episodes that we've done as we are like marching towards. I heard something the other day that I think it's like only 2% of podcasts get past like 300 episodes or 500 episodes. I can't remember. It's something that's like way back there, like way lower than we have. So we must be like right up in there, number of episodes. Now, we're not going to be in the top 10 chart otherwise, but hey, we're going to keep going. And that's why we are exactly where we belong. No imposter syndrome here whatsoever. Ours is more, why are we still here? But that is a topic for another day. Go out there and have yourselves a good one, guys. We will talk to you next time around.